You also have responsibilities for Francophonie.
Yes.
How do you consider the state of the French language these days?
Well, the state of the French language will be known very shortly because at the last Francophonie summit in Quebec City, there was a motion in which we created at Laval University in Quebec City a team of researchers who are just going to make a report at the next Francophonie meeting in Switzerland, in fact. And they will talk about the state of the French language around the world. So we'll know more. One thing that we know that is quite interesting, of course, it is a language that is spoken in many places around the world. Francophonie represents 10% of the world's population. But of course, in many areas, it is the second language. It is the second language in many countries. But what is interesting about the Francophonie, and that people are not necessarily aware of, is that in around the year 2050, 80% of those who will be speaking French will not be in France or in Quebec, will be in Africa. So that's a radical change from what it is today. So Francophonie will become something quite different.
Develop a strategic plan for that north-south axis while you're working now with the Europeans and consolidating your relations with the United States? Is that on your agenda as well?
Yes, well, one of the things we use, for example, as a member of the Francophonie, of course, it's the only forum in the world, or the very few, I don't know that many forums in the world, where you have the rich and the poor countries, what we call the rich and the poor countries, talking at the same table together. And of course, when we do meetings of the Francophonie, we talk about the same, we talk about the language issue, we talk about a series of issues, but of course, among those issues are discussions about how to create a more balance, more justice between the rich and the poor countries. And Francophonie has a certain effect. For example, in 2008, when the President of France came to Quebec City, for example, he came up and we had lengthy discussions about the best way to fight the financial meltdown that we had. And immediately after the conference, he went to see President Bush. President Bush at the time, in November 2008, decided to bring the G20 meeting in Washington. And some of the discussions that were being held at the Francophonie were held between the G20s after. So, you know, when you have those kinds of forums, those things are being discussed. We're even in discussion right now with members of the Commonwealth, which includes UK, India, the former English colonies, if I might use that. We would like eventually to have in Montreal a gathering of the Francophonie and the Commonwealth people. You would wind up in Montreal having a forum in which at least half of the world's population would be represented. That would be something absolutely unique.
And finally, I'm just wondering, in terms of the legacy of this Olympics, do you think that it's helped inspire your athletes in Quebec?
Absolutely, absolutely. People are working hard, and not only did it inspire our athletes in Quebec, but Quebec City will bid for the Olympics. I think it's 2022, the Olympics. So the mayor has already announced that he would be a bidder. We would like to host the Olympics in the province of Quebec in 2022. So it inspired a lot of people. The results have been pretty good so far. And we feel very strongly that, you know, we had in 1976 the Olympics in Montreal. It was a great event for us. Calgary, Vancouver already had the Winter Olympics. I think Calgary was in 88, or 86 or 88, if I'm not mistaken. Now it's Vancouver's turn, and hopefully, eventually, Quebec City will have the Olympics. But it's very exciting. The ratings on televisions are pretty good.
Well, I think everybody all over the world has been impressed with the strength of personality of Joan Rochette.
Yes.
And she should be part of your committee.
That's right.
In getting that Olympics.
It's a story that moved us, what happened to her mother and the way she performed after. I mean, it's a very moving story, and that's one of the reasons why the Olympics are such an important event, and that's one of the reasons why we are so much interested by the Olympics as well.